I must say that it is not surprising what we heard in the budget. This is the last budget in the three-year period of the IMF program. And so essentially the budget is very heavy on fiscal discipline for Ghana to maintain the path that we are on. We are excited about the stability we observe currently, and this stability is critical. And when you look at what is in the budget, you see that the government is riding on the stability to move on to other things, which is important because we say that there is the need for us to invest in the structural challenges we have, which consistently makes the growth of the economy not very employment generating, because unemployment is increasingly becoming a problem. And so it is not surprising that the budget lays a lot of emphasis on fiscal discipline. And for us as analysts, we are watching the space, particularly as the country exits the IMF program next year, mid-next year, because we know that historically, when Ghana is under a fund program, we do well. We do well. We perform excellently. Because when you look at the statistics Yao shared, you see that everything is on track. GDP growth is on track. We have achieved a single-digit inflation, which was even towards the end of the year, is being achieved currently. And so going forward within the budget, what is interesting to me is the way the government is using the stability we have obtained to try to look into the future in terms of infrastructural projects, in terms of budgeting for employment, for example. For someone with labor background, I'm excited to see that increasingly we are focusing on jobs when we talk about budgets in this country, which is critical. And so I see that this budget is also quite sensitive to the needs of the Ghanaian people in terms of social protection. Investment in education and health. All these are on the back of the stability that we observe. And I must indicate that the stability we are presently enjoying is the fact that a number of sectors are doing well, particularly on the back of gold and cocoa, right? And these critical minerals, the pricing is determined externally. And it's also because of some of the turbulent situations we've seen on the global front. That is why gold has done significantly well in recent times. And so going forward, I think that the investments locally, opportunities for value addition, employment generation, so that we build resilience in the situation where gold underperforms, in the situation where cocoa underperforms, that should be the direction of
a fallback plan.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
And one other thing is the choice of the areas government wants to invest, you know, to bring about the growth in employment figures we are seeing. Government chooses to invest in commercial agriculture, in this case, palm plantations, and the expectation is that many jobs will be created in there, and also investment in roads. Government speaks about the Accra to Kumasi Expressway, which is expected to create some 300,000 plus jobs, you know. Do you think that is the way to go from what you're saying, Doc?
I think it is important, but when we talk about employment generation, we should also focus on the generation of sustainable and decent jobs. Because when you look at the 300,000 jobs in the construction that is proposed, you see that these are temporary jobs. And so essentially, but it is important. I think we need to start from somewhere. My only reservation is that a lot of these big projects are usually consistently promised in budgets, but they are not delivered. And so when you look at this, I'm looking at the funding sources, for example, the proposed funding sources for this. You see
that's for the road project?
Exactly.
Yeah, government says they budgeted 30 billion.
Exactly.
Ghana needs for the big push.
For the big push, right. So the big push, I think that they are budgeting that from the ABFA, and there's also the proposal to use some of other mineral resources, proposal for private public partnerships.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to, for example, public-private partnerships, the private sector would want to ride on the confidence that we have, which is the stability. And that is why I insist that the stability we are observing, we need to guard it as much as possible, because anything that derails that means that all these plans will be thrown out of gear. And so essentially, if the private sector is going to partner with government, they need some level of certainty. Sure. Some level of protection, and also some level, projection of the revenues that will be out there. And so you look at the reintroduction of tolls. When the highways are done, we know that there will be some introduction of tolls. Would those be enough for private sector to be able to get their investments back in due time? These investments are very long-term investments, and that would require some level of continuity in our governance space. And so, for example, I think that as a country, we always insist on the need for us to think long-term, and that the periodic changes in government and shifts in policy stance do not really augur well for investment, particularly if government is going on the tangent of PPP, which is private sector participation. They need that assurance, and they need that level of continuity to be able to do that.
That's fine. Thank you so much, Dr. Priscilla Twumasi Baffour.